can you take roll call?
Sure. Mark Miller,
Present.
Chris Carlson,
Here.
and Paula Crook are all present.
And like to make a motion to approve last month's minutes.
Motion?
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Chris, can you go over the budget, please?
I can. So we received our deposit for the first of the year of $891,000. We had a starting balance of $177,385. That brought our balance to $1,068,396 to start the year. We had $248,000 in disbursements, which a lot of this was catching up. At the end of the year, we performed the road project in the meadows, sealing all the roads in meadows 1 and 2. And so that bill came due in January. So we paid that in January, and that was one of our bigger ones. And then new signage and gates for Seltzer Cemetery were also on this bill this time through. Plus we had to buy some equipment from Bobcat for the winter year, another big purchase we made. So a lot of things that we plan on doing hit us in January in the very beginning, just to get us started for the year. So any questions on the budget?
I don't.
No.
Motion to approve the budget.
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Budget approved.
And road assessors report.
So we executed proposals with APAC last month for paving. We're going to pave 24th Street. We're going to mill and overlay the Pinnacle and mill and overlay Turnberry. We are in discussion for some other projects for this year, but at this time we haven't executed any contracts on other major projects at this time. But there's not a lot going on. It looks like talking to APAC this morning, they have the road projects I just mentioned are scheduled for mid-June, depending on how much rain we get in the spring. So those could push or pull one way or the other. So, but that's all I have on the road assessors report.
Okay.
Yeah, but this will do new business first.
Yeah, we can do that. New business. Chris.
I don't have a new business.
Old business. Chris has something to share. Let's see, Villas 2. Haven't heard anything from them. That's still on the agenda. Everybody knows that they were trying to go public, but it's been pretty dry for like the last 4 months or so. Chris?
Old business. So last month we talked about potential sidewalk on 143rd. CCCID asked if we would partner with them on a sidewalk project. They provided a assessment from MKEC about a feasibility study from MKEC for what they wanted to do. So I went and took the feasibility study and just shared it with a couple other engineering firms just to take a look at it and see and get bids to see where we stand for finances. What I got back was actually different layouts of where the sidewalk is to go. And this caused an issue with me. So I contacted Lynn Packer, who's the interim director of Sedgwick County Public Works, talk with him through this project and just see what the long-term plans are for 143rd. The goal here is not to go put in a sidewalk and then in 2 or 3 years, the county comes along and demos the sidewalk in lieu of a road. And that's my concern. The MKC feasibility study placed the sidewalk up against the road, similar to what's against Central now, all the way down. Talking to Lynn Packer, he doesn't think that was what was discussed with him. He believed the sidewalk was supposed to be cut against the tree line. One of the designs that I was taught that was brought back to me was against the tree line. MKC is showing it against the road, and then I solicited a proposal from BHC out of Kansas City, and they're proposing to run the sidewalk along Springdale and through the trees in a winding pattern all the way down. All three are viable. What I need from CCCID is I need a preference on which way they want to go, because depending on what you want to do, we're going to have, there's coordination issues with all of it. Now, speaking with Lynn Packer, the bridge on 143rd, that first bridge there, is actually on the schedule for 2027 to be replaced. I think originally I was told they thought it was 25. So I did confirm it is 2027. And our sidewalk work, in order for them to connect it, would have to be done prior to the 2027 project. Also with that, there are no planned road improvements for 143rd Street by the county at this time. What they're waiting on is the school. Once that school is operational, they're at the corner of whatever, Central and 143rd-ish. Once that school is operational, they're going to run traffic studies and determine what needs to be done. It sounds like at a minimum, a turn lane will be added. So with that being said, the proposal that I see here, the feasibility study from MKC, does not work for us. And that's because I don't want to spend all that money to put a sidewalk in and all the drainage work that has to be done to make that sidewalk work for it to be ripped out in 2027 or 2028 so they can widen the road. And they may or may not put a sidewalk back in. There's no guarantee of that. So I think that we need to look at the two options that put it closer to the tree line or in the tree line. I know we have a couple of gentlemen here from two different areas representing this. And I guess first off, if the option through the trees is an option, then we need the Meadows approval to do it. And we need coordination because there's sprinkler systems through there that have to be coordinated. And there's some trees will have to be removed. Don't know which ones, but I mean, there's options. If we run on the outside of the tree line, there's going to be a lot of fill that has to be brought in order to make the sidewalk viable so it doesn't have any issues later on. But we actually need to get further into the weeds with it. Which option you gentlemen would like to see. Obviously going through the trees and the meadows will cost more because it's going between trees. There's just a higher cost to trying to get that run, and it could be a benefit if we run the sidewalk in some sections right up against the curb at Springdale Road. There's some options there that we could actually run it in there as well and then bring it out and curve it around. But I think in order that's something that you guys can put on your plate. Let us know what you want to do. Take it back to the people and let us know what option you prefer. I do think though that the option presented by MKC of going next to the road is not a viable option long term. That's a lot of money to put out there that'll just get wasted in the future. At least it'll be wasted by us. If Sedgwick County widens the road, it saves them money because we'll have done all the infrastructure work. So, but that's what I have for old business.
Okay. I know that John and Paul has been working down in Sunswept, right? The most recent thing, John, that you did was clean out some drainage down there off of Bel Air.
Yep.
Right? Was that a couple weeks ago already?
Maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago.
Okay. So, other than that, projects around here, I'm sure you guys have seen the vehicle drive up and down the road before or this week. Anything new, John, Paul?
No.
No? Okay. And we will discuss this sidewalk here in just a minute, a little bit more, but I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion?
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Questions? Anybody?
Any question?
Any questions?
Well, if we're gonna get in a long conversation, well, how about we get everybody out that may be wanting to leave earlier?
Yes.
Yeah.
Any questions before the sidewalk?
Well, when will the decision be made on whether to install the sidewalk? Is that in the near future?
Well, what we'll do is we're gonna go through more studies, figure out what I want. We have to first figure out the plan they want to go with, and then we got to figure out the agreement, preferred phasing of the project, what they want, what phase we want to put it in, because this is going to be a partnership between CCCID and Minnehaha, and then who's going to handle the coordination with the Meadows 1 and Meadows 2. We have to assert that, and also who's going to coordinate with Pinehurst. Because we have to coordinate with all these entities to make it happen. So until we have all those answers, we won't actually approve it, grant it, and fund it.
What is CCDI?
Oh, it's Crestview Country Club Improvement District,
Oh, all right.
the Crestview Mile.
So we butt up against them? Or no, they're another.
You're in Sunswept, right?
Oh, that's right. They're,
You're Sunswept
Sunswept,
Improvement District.
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
Crestview Improvement District.
Yeah,
There's Springdale Improvement District. So there's 3 improvement districts within the township.
yeah, yeah. Crestview Mile is its own improvement district.
Actually, it extends beyond that.
Well, it
Yes.
does. I actually, Lynn Packer put it in the email I have here in front of me. Because you got the trees too.
Yeah, well,
So-
and Overbrook
Yeah.
and the other 2 communities that are right there.
The pecans.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
but basically, yeah, that they oversee all of that, and so then and we've got a lot of this would require a lot of coordination. Basically, whatever civil engineer we hire will head up the coordination with the city and the county. Well, I think it's just county on this one, this county road, but we have to have access agreements with Pinehurst, and also if we have to understand if it affects any of the sprinkler systems for Pinehurst. We're gonna have to coordinate that. Meadows 1 and 2, I've walked that site twice now, outside the trees and inside the trees. We've got sprinklers in there that have to be coordinated. We've got utility boxes. We have to, which I would probably venture to say we would just go around the utilities and kind of make a nice little winding path through the trees, which I think would be a nice walk personally. But if we go to the outside of the tree line, I don't think we mess with any of the sprinklers. We would just have to probably trim up and or remove a few trees here and there.
very good.
But it's still, all of them have some have their perks. It's, there's more details. We still haven't got answers yet on how to make the crossing at Pinehurst on the south side of the bridge. Didn't get a whole lot of feedback from the county yet. So
Sounds a lot of work to do before.
it is because it's not the area is not. It's not ideal yet. It'll be better if they do widen the road and they put all the storm drainage underground. It'll be perfect for a sidewalk. But right now with the ditches, it's got some pretty big ditches to hold
Okay, thank
water.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. I didn't know if you had anything particular you want to talk about tonight, so I wanted to. Yeah, just
Just a complicated process.
it is especially when you have several entities involved.
Yeah.
So trying to get everybody coordinated, everybody on the same page. Plus, more than likely, we would have to have, probably once we come to an agreement, we'd have to have the attorney sign up the agreement between CCID and Minnehaha, so we're all on the same page of who pays what and when, and figuring out the logistics of that.
Good luck with that.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Yeah, I'm leaving that to Mark.
Thanks for all that you're doing.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks for coming. So, gentlemen, I gave you I just threw out a whole bunch of questions. What do you think?
Yeah. So I guess if
I didn't get the name of the two other engineering firms that did they give you reports similar to that?
No, they didn't give me a report. They
Just kind
took
of
the report. I gave them the report minus MKC's bid numbers. I didn't
Yeah.
give any numbers out. I just gave them the straight report of where they proposed the sidewalk, how they proposed to phase it, going up and down, and I had them give me a construction cost breakdown and give me a bid for doing design documents. All of them came in, including MKC. They're all about the same on design documents. The variable was the survey. Survey is going to cost more if we go through the trees.
You know, I think, you know, when I met with the Meadows HOA the other night, you know, I definitely heard them say the trees were important to them.
Yes.
And so I want to do everything, you know, I think that CCCID wants to do everything we can to honor that and keep the trees there as much as we can.
Yeah, we would be. I don't want to remove anything that doesn't need to be removed. But in order to make the sidewalk viable, there would be some small trees. We walked through. I think there's a couple in there that are dead that I think we could pull and make a nice path through there. But there are some trees that would have to be trimmed and or removed to make it go through the trees. If we go on the outside, because of the slopes of the ditch, there's a couple of bigger trees that would have to be removed in order to make that happen.
So when you say outside, are you saying to the east or to the west
So,
of the trees?
East of the trees, we can't go down in the ditch.
Right, and that's
So-
really what MKEC was proposing, was building all that up to put a sidewalk in on the east side of the trees, right? As close to the road as they could.
Yeah, they were putting it close to the road, similar to was what I saw. It looks like they were putting it close to the road, similar to what Central sidewalk is. Right
Which
there.
is practical because there's drainage on Central and not
Yeah.
nothing other than a ditch on 143rd.
Yeah. Well, and I think the long term, ideally, if Sedgwick County were to probably widen it, I would feel like they'd probably put storm sewer in. So
Oh, yeah.
then we'd be coming straight out, and then they would probably curb it and probably put sidewalk there. I would make that assumption, but that is only an assumption on record. I don't know what their plan is, and I don't want to guess and lock them into something they didn't agree to.
Exactly.
So-
So when you spoke to Lynn Packard, was there the commitment to, if we had the approaches for the sidewalk up to the bridge space, that the county would cover the cost of the pedestrian access on the bridge?
His words were, if there's a sidewalk there when they pull the bridge, they will connect them because the bridge will probably have a sidewalk.
Okay. Well,
But honestly, you're not talking. It's not a huge expense to make that connection. We would have to coordinate with them about where we are to leave it for them to come in and do it.
right.
So,
But
yeah.
the huge savings there for us is not having to put a pedestrian bridge over the creek.
Correct.
And so you know, when in your email you'd asked, you know, what as far as the preferred phasing, you know, having our sidewalk approach to the bridge space in place so that they would cover the cost of the pedestrian bridge, that's really the thing we wanted to accomplish. So whatever phase we chose, we wanted to do that first to make sure that that was being covered.
Yeah.
The fact that, you know, we would be able to start from the south where the Pinehurst sidewalk kind of leaves off and head north, that kind of just was an added benefit, I think.
Yeah.
And that's
Well-
really what we were thinking.
Yeah, and I think that the Pinehurst side, and then from the bridge to the end of the meadows, those are probably the most expensive sections to really do. Theoretically, just because there's a lot has to be done to keep the drainage going through. And we're not sure exactly how that's going to happen. That's going to be a coordination between the civil engineers and Sedgwick County on what they want to see, and basically how big. It's possible we could hug our easement and stay by the trees and stop there, and then when they put the bridge in, they're also going to have to probably address drainage, and we might get the connection that way, which means I can stop it 30, 40 feet away which would be ideal. But if we can't do anything across that drainage ditch without their engineers
Right.
reviewing it, because depending how big it really needs to be, because we still have to get all the water back in that creek.
Right.
So,
So how close we can get depends on what
They-
they
what they-
will
what they-
require or allow.
yes, yes.
Require on one hand, allow on the other.
Yeah, and because this is it's going to impact the easement of Pinehurst, they've got to be brought to the table in this conversation too. I don't think they're going to be upset. They're the ones that came to us about the sidewalk that goes from their entrance south.
Right.
And they were, and when we did that, they were in agreement. They wanted to go all the way around the mile, but what are you going to do, right?
Yeah.
At the time. So, there's some other things that we have to look into. So Meadows 1 and 2 is platted. That whole space in there is platted as Reserve A, and it's a formal plat. And because of the restrictions written into that platting, you can't put a sidewalk or anything crossing that.
Really?
Cannot happen. My understanding is now Lynn Packer says that the green space in Reserve A, it is private property. The plat already allows for a sidewalk in the reserve, but BHC, who gave me a proposal, pulled the plat record, and the plat record says it can't have a sidewalk. So I don't know if Lynn Packer knows something I don't. We have to clear that up and make sure that it's allowed. Otherwise, we'd have to amend the restrictions on that. So it says basically Lynn had told me he's saying the plat already allows for a sidewalk. So the improvement district would simply need to work out an agreement with the Pinehurst HOA, which I think is Gary Patterson last I knew. I think he was the president over there. He said there's a small 5-foot utility easement along the east line of the reserve, but that should not be a problem. So he's anticipating we could avoid that utility easement. So we have to get county cooperation to construct a sidewalk, which I think I mentioned already. He mentions in here he spoke to MKC about this project over a year ago and got the impression that the majority of the sidewalk was going to be placed away from 143rd at the tree line. So, but that's not what we show here. So I don't know where the change in plan came. And maybe it was just cost driven. I mean, it definitely is cheaper to put it up next to the road, but it's not cheaper if they're going to rip it out in 5 or 6 years and may or may not put one back in.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So have you seen before situations like this where sidewalks existed and the county came in and did improvements and did not put a sidewalk back in? I mean, it seems like to me that if one existed before they started work, that they would be obligated to restore that functionality.
counties are financially driven. It's what the money they have and the projects they allot and how they plan them out. Depending on the long-term plan, what they want to do, they may not. It's difficult to know, and I don't get to see their inner workings. I know that they try to touch roads. I think it's every 8 years, maybe 6 or 8 years. I think is what they committed to years back with David Spears. But I mean, with today's rising costs, I mean, construction is not cheap. And it's not getting any cheaper, and so it's limiting what can be done. But could they not put a sidewalk back in? Absolutely, depending on what they're doing. If they didn't have the funding to do it, it wasn't in the long-term plan, it may not go in. But who knows?
But it would behoove us to alter our plan to try to eliminate that as a possibility.
I would think it's a good idea to eliminate. I mean, we increase the chance of keeping our sidewalk. Plus, if we do keep it along the tree line and they do widen the road, there's a buffer there between the road and the sidewalk. I've walked Central a few times. Not really a fan of being that close to cars, but that's just me. I have anxiety. So.
Yeah.
Let's not make it with that.
But I would say we definitely have to have a conversation with Pinehurst though, and see what Pinehurst will allow. Because it is connecting to theirs, and I think they're private as well. I think they're a private HOA.
So are you saying that Meadows 1 and 2 would not also have the ability to have the same conversation?
No, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just all have to be at the same table.
I understand.
It doesn't
I
matter. Yeah, it
appreciate
doesn't.
that.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who has the conversation.
Right.
We just want to all be on the same page.
Absolutely.
Lynn Packer, he's good about detail, and he'll want to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're all in agreement. So, Mark's been working with Lynn on projects for the last couple of years. He's good. He's good to work with. He knows his stuff. So,
Yeah. Very friendly.
yeah, he's easy to approach.
Yeah.
But
this definitely changes what CCCID was thinking, because we were thinking in terms of being able to go through public easement, not having to go through private property. So that definitely changes the conversation we had the other night.
it might be worth just the decision makers get together. We got some great weather out here coming up. Just go out and walk it and see what you feel comfortable with. Because once you walk it, a 2D drawing doesn't show how steep that ditch is in a lot of places and how deep it is. And those are any place where it's really deep or steep. You're talking about a lot. We have to do some infrastructure work to reinforce the ground in order to make that happen. So, it's going to be about, between all the proposals I've seen to do construction documents for permitting, we're probably in the $50,000 to $60,000 range for documents.
Okay.
And that includes survey. So, I think the documents themselves probably in the 30-ish range, and the survey is going to vary depending on what we do. MKEC's plan, the survey is actually pretty inexpensive because you're right there next to the road.
Right.
The farther we get away from the road, the more expensive the survey gets. The more trees in the way, the more expensive the survey gets. So those are the variables in there.
So that when you say construction documents, in addition to the survey, that's what else?
That number I gave you is survey and construction documents.
So in construction documents, in essence, the plan.
Yes.
Okay.
The official.
The blueprints that we would present to the county, that they would approve. Okay.
Yep. And then we have to sit back too and just reevaluate the phasing by cost and see what makes more sense to do and when, and commit to it. I think that the documents, we need to do the documents for the entire project in the beginning.
The whole mile from Central to 13.
Do all the documents, itemize the phasing, and then we'll bid it to contractors per phase that we can afford to do at whatever time, and connect them up that way. I think that's a better way to go. If we try to do only partial documents, we're going to keep paying premium for design services.
Yeah.
And I think as long as we have if we put a plan in there for the phase construction, and we say, phase 1 and 2 are 2024, phase 3 and 4 are 2025. If we lay that out to the county, I don't think they'll have a problem with a phase construction process, as long as we're open and honest about the schedule.
Okay. Well, then it sounds like, the next thing that probably needs to happen is a meeting between all the parties to just talk about it, get Pinehurst involved. Jess, I don't know who from your group would want to be involved, how much you'd want to open that up, but certainly would want to
Some of the
to
directors,
have as many involved as you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think I'd like to have the whole, the other two CCCID members there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll at the end of this meeting, I'll give you a card, and if I can be present for it, I'd be more than happy to come if you guys want to come look at it, walk it, we can talk through the issues, I'd be more than happy to be of service.
Yeah, you know, I respect and appreciate your experience with this type of thing, because it's certainly not something that the three of us from the CCCID have. You know, we really don't.
I've done this for a bit.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that we want to lend to your expertise, your experience.
Yeah.
And definitely would want to have you involved as much as you're willing to be involved.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna try to partner up with you and make this happen, we want to do it right. We want to do it once.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll all get together, yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome your input, absolutely.
Yeah, I do travel, and it's getting to be that time of year again where I start traveling more. But we can, as long as you give me a couple of dates and times, I usually can make something work.
Okay.
If you got some options.
Well, probably look 30 days out at least, just for scheduling. I think
Okay.
it gets hard to try to the more people who try to coordinate, the closer the date, it's harder to get everybody there. So,
Okay.
but yeah, definitely that would be something that you know, we want to pursue and get that scheduled, and if we just meet over there in that area and walk it and talk and at least preliminarily and.
Let's just hope it's warmer than the last time I walked it, because I'm pretty sure it was like 27
Okay.
last time I walked it.
The wind, north wind, right?
It was. It was chilly.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, there's a lot of moving parts and pieces that we've got to get ironed out before we pull the trigger.
Okay, all right. Well, why don't I see if I can find out, just make sure who the Pinehurst. You know, is Gary still?
The last time I heard he was, and I'll tell you what, I'll try to find out who is on Meadows 1 for you.
Okay.
And give you the contact information. for
Okay,
that.
all right.
And Jess, right?
Jess,
You're-
JSS.
Okay, you're Meadows too, right?
Meadows 2, correct. That's correct.
Okay.
And Chris, what is your last name?
Carlson. Carlson. I'll give you a card when this is over.
Oh, okay, great. Well, I appreciate everybody's time, and thank you for allowing me to sit in on
I'm
your
glad you were here.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're in a hot township too. You're welcome to be
Oh, no,
here every
no.
month.
Oh, I understand.
I got
Oh, do I have to?
Jess, I got a question for you after this.
Sure, absolutely.
All right.
You know,